Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So if you've been following my videos lately, I've just been working on the IS300, mostly on the dash and getting all the dash stuff swapped out of there. So in today's video, that old melted 2002 dash I took out, we'll go ahead and go through the process of stripping this thing down, getting all the old sticky crap off of there. We'll test a few chemicals on there and see which one's the best to take it off, and then we'll prep it for paint. So stay tuned. So if you guys have a 2002 to 2005 IS300 dash, you'll know what I'm talking about with all this right here, which is all the sticky melted dash parts that's all on here, including the airbag cover. And it's really nasty because it gets all over your hands and anything that touches it, especially when it's been in the sun for a while. The trim also suffers from that right here, all along there, and then up here also. So you have to be able to take all of this off, refinish it with like a vinyl paint or a trim paint, and then put it back in the car just to get it all clean again. So today we're gonna go ahead and try to clean some of this off using alcohol, acetone, and some degreaser, and see which one's the best at taking this stuff off. In addition to the dash melting, this part of the center console, right around the shifter, this is also a part that does all the melting and stickiness. So we'll go ahead and strip this all down to the gray plastic that's underneath. Luckily, the rest of this plastic right here on the center console doesn't suffer from that because it's a straight black plastic and not coated with any of that crap that melts. So to start off with on here, I'm gonna go ahead and do some acetone. Acetone is probably the strongest stuff that you're gonna use on here, and it's very aggressive, but it evaporates really fast, so it shouldn't melt the dash, I don't think. Then I'm gonna do 91% isopropyl alcohol. That one takes it off pretty well, I think, and it's not as strong and it evaporates quick too. And then third, I'm gonna try super clean. You know, super clean, I use that for everything around my garage to clean stuff. I'm gonna see how well that works on here. So we'll go ahead and try all three right now. So the first thing I'm gonna do is my acetone. This is the same stuff you use in nail shops and stuff, and nail polish removers. I'm just putting it on a piece of rag. This is actually some old baby wipes that are all dried out. They're a nice thick material that can work on this. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of scrub it right there, and it comes off pretty easily. You can see right there, right onto the thing. The only thing you have to worry about acetone is that it might melt the plastic. I'm not sure what kind of plastic this is. Acetone doesn't melt all plastics, it just melts some plastics. So you just gotta be careful with that and see what happens. It does melt everything really fast, and it makes it really easy, as you can see there. As you can see, once it starts drying up, it becomes very tacky. Next I'm gonna do is the 91% alcohol. So this stuff is pretty strong too. It won't melt plastics, but it will dry really fast, and it will dry your hands out, so you want to wear gloves. So this one does take it off. It doesn't work as fast. You can see it right onto the paper though, but this one will require a lot more scrubbing versus the acetone over there. The alcohol, I noticed, is it won't melt it, because this one right here kind of leaves like a white film, and some of it I think it's from the plastic starting to melt, but it doesn't melt as fast just because it evaporates faster than it can melt the plastic. Yeah, the alcohol will take it off, but you can see the coloration right here still leaves a lot of the black behind. Next one is going to be some super clean. This is straight super clean out of the bottle, not diluted. So this stuff's pretty strong too if it's not diluted. It does take it off, not as fast as the alcohol, but it doesn't evaporate as fast as the alcohol either. So we'll do the same on this part. I'm gonna go ahead and try the acetone right here. This is a much smoother surface, so you can see that acetone works really fast, evaporates really fast too, but it also, when you come across the same smooth spot again, it just brings more of the residue over. So you guys can see from the 3 different tests right here, they all work just as equally in getting the stuff off. This is the super clean side right here after I wiped it dry with a clean rag, just a dry clean rag. You can see it's pretty smooth as far as how much it took off and damage to the plastic and everything. You can see right here the acetone side, like I said, it does leave like a slight film on it if you take some of the melted or the old stuff back over, because it kind of just spreads it out and then it evaporates really fast, so you can't wipe it dry with a dry cloth. And over here is the alcohol. So the alcohol works just as good as the super clean over here on getting it smooth and clean. This one also evaporates pretty quickly, and when you spread it and it dries, you can see that too. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do the whole thing. I think the best bet I'm gonna try is maybe do a combination. So I'm gonna basically probably start with a layer of acetone just to get the hard surface layer off, and then I'm gonna go over it with the alcohol after that just to get the residual and have it evaporate really fast without melting or spreading too much. And if there's any leftover after that, I'll probably clean it with the super clean as the final step just to get it nice and dry and smooth and clean. So we'll go ahead and time lapse through this right now and see how quickly we get this done. All right, I'm about half an hour into this and got most of the top black stuff all off already with a combination of both acetone and alcohol. You can still see a little bit of remnants right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just clean that off, scrub it more. Those are gonna be areas where you just need to scrub it, get some acetone in there. You can see right here is where I sprayed some alcohol and I started eating that away a little bit. The rest of this looks like the old owner had already cleaned a lot of this off on this part of the trim, and he coated it with black. So once I scrubbed down to around the area where he stopped, you can kind of see where the paint is not coming off as easily. Same with around the vent area here. It looks like he did it on the car. So the spots where he couldn't get to, it still has that coating on there. He just painted over it. But the rest of the spot, I couldn't really wipe off easily. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean all the stuff inside here, the stuff in between the radio and everything, all off nicely, along with this spot over here. This spot down here, I think, is already a dyed black plastic, so you don't really have to scrub anything off. You could probably wanna just paint this area, but you don't need to scrub any of the sticky stuff off of here. After about 2 hours of scrubbing, I got really deep into it just because of my OCD-ness, especially on the inside here with all the little nooks and crannies. But I was able to get all the sticky crap off the top of the dash, in between all these little pieces and spots here, all those little edges and everything. I just made sure it was nice and clean. Got 99% of that sticky crap gone. The acetone worked really well. You want to use that. The acetone wasn't as rough on this as I thought it was going to be. As long as you keep rubbing it and let it evaporate, you don't want to put the acetone on and leave it like dripping or anything like that. So you want to make sure you spray it on with a spray bottle, mist it onto the paper towel or whatever microfiber or whatever you want to use to scrub it. But yeah, you do use a lot of towels. Look at that trash can right there. I basically used the dried up baby wipes right there that I had. Used about half a pack in that. You can only rub a couple square inches at a time with one thing before it gets soaked with all that black crap. But the acetone really does a number on this. You could tell, like I said earlier, the old owner had already just done these trim parts in the center part, but he didn't do like all the way up here near the dash. That's why I started getting all sticky right here and it came right off. Once I got to around here, the acetone started taking away the spray paint or whatever he used last time to finish this off. The bottom piece, like I said earlier, that's straight black. Over here, I scrubbed that with the acetone. That's what discolored this, the acetone and the alcohol. I'm just gonna go ahead and, like I said earlier, repaint that anyway. So It matches the top. Everything looks pretty good. I still gonna probably clean up a little bit around the edges here because I can still feel some stickiness through the paint. So I'm gonna clean up there, all the edges here. And then once I do this, I'm gonna go ahead and take this outside, pressure clean everything with some water and degreaser just to get it all nice and clean. Yeah, but after I used the acetone to get most of the black off, I went over it with that 91% alcohol just to get all the little streaks and everything off and get all the final black stuff. See right here in these little bumps right there, there is still a little bit of stickiness, so I gotta clean that off with some more acetone and alcohol just to make sure I get that like this side over here where it's nice and clean with nothing in it. But once I take it outside, I'll spray it down with some super clean, let it soak for a little bit, and once I hit it with the pressure cleaner, it should take a lot of the little nooks and crannies and all the final stuff off of this before we let it dry off. As much as we clean the surface or the touchable and visible areas, the underside here also has that same coating that starts to melt and get sticky. You can see right here where it's kind of the cutoff or the tape line on when they sprayed that stuff on. So if you touch this spot, it still leaves a residue behind and it'll be a pain in the ass to clean that. So best way is to try to pressure clean that with some super clean on the back side to get as much of this off as you can with the pressure cleaner, because trying to scrub this is going to be a big pain in the ass. And even though you can't see it, it could still potentially cause a sticky mess if you ever work behind your dash or under your dash. I can feel over here all the old dust that's collecting on here and it just sticks to it. All right, we got this thing sprayed down. As you can see, we washed off most of the sticky stuff using the pressure cleaner. I was able to clean all the edges, all the little nooks and crannies where we still had a little bit of sticky stuff. It all came out with the pressure cleaner. You can see some of that paint the previous owner was using came off using the pressure cleaner too. So once I scuffed that up with a Scotch-Brite, it should take a lot more of that off and give me a pretty good surface to paint on. But you can see right there, he did a really good job, but around the edges, obviously, it always comes loose right there. Whether you prime it or prep it, it still comes off, especially if you're using a pressure cleaner. You can see the gray material from the original dash pretty much shows up. On the underside, all those little sticky areas I showed earlier, we were able to just pressure clean all that, and you can see the gray showing up once we got the sticky material off. So those are going to be pretty much clean. Everywhere else is pretty clean also, so I should be good now as far as stickiness goes, and we've cleaned off all the dirt and dust and all the grime that accumulated on the backside here. So after letting all that water dry, I was able to sand it down with a Scotch-Brite pad. As you can see, we were able to get everything scuffed up. All the leftover paint from the previous owner who covered this up and got rid of some of the stickiness is still here, but I was able to just feather all that in so we could have a nice smooth surface to put our paint on. All the edges over here I just kind of scuffed up so we have a good edge and we get everything nice and smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe all this down with alcohol. After we let all the alcohol dry, I'm gonna clean it off with that grease remover just to get rid of everything on here before I put the adhesion promoter on it. I'm gonna pull it outside and do that, make sure I dust everything off and spray it off with air. Over here I was able to scuff this piece of it. This is the part I'm gonna refinish on here. This part I'm gonna leave as is. It's straight black. Nothing's peeling or anything on here, so I'm gonna leave that as is. I don't wanna paint that and mess that up. The airbag cover, this thing is sticky and nasty. After I pressure cleaned it, it pretty much got all the black stuff off of it. So It's pretty clean now. I wiped it with alcohol earlier and it didn't come off on me, so that's good right there. Because I swapped this one out with the 2001 version and the 2002 version was melting, so I wiped that off as much as I could. It wasn't as bad as the dash, but it was melting, so I cleaned it all off, scuffed it up, and we're gonna be able to coat that too to match everything else. Over here we got the trim. I'm gonna go ahead and scuff that up. This thing was pretty good condition anyways. You just need to scuff it up so we can paint it. The lower panel, if you want to match this with the paint that you're gonna paint your dash, you might want to paint this too. My lower panels on the 2001 and the 2002 aren't melting. This one doesn't have that stupid coating on it, so this thing's pretty good the way it is. It's not sticky or anything, but if you want it to match the rest of the dash, you go ahead and paint this too. All right, went ahead and cleaned up all these other pieces. I scuffed that thing off camera, cleaned it off. You can see it left some residue right there from the alcohol, but that should be fine once we coat it. This thing is nice and clean now, no more residue coming off the airbag cover. This thing's clean too with the alcohol, no more residue there either. So we go ahead and take this all outside right now, clean it off with that paint prep and grease remover, same with the dash there, and coat it with some adhesion promoter. Once we coat it with the adhesion promoter, we can start with the base coat of our paint. Once we put that paint on, we probably need 3 to 4 coats of good paint for the dash part. All right, we got everything set up outside right now, ready to start the paint process. So I'm gonna use some Prep All wax and grease remover just to clean everything off, do a one wipe down with that. Once that dries, I'm gonna go ahead and put on the SEM XXX adhesion promoter. So we wanna put one light coat on here, wait 5 minutes, and then one thick wet coat, and then wait 15 minutes before we put the paint on. All right, so after letting this flash for about 15 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and do the Duplicolor vinyl and fabric paint. So this paint you can pick up at Advanced Auto Parts or any other place that sells automotive paint, but it's like $9 to $11 a bottle. I'll link it down in the description for the exact part number we use for this project, along with all the other materials and other chemicals and stuff that I've used here. I'll have links down in the description to the part numbers and where you can get them. But what we want to do is just spray up to like 4 or 5 coats of this with 5 minutes in between to dry. Once you're done with all your coats, it takes about 30 minutes to an hour before you can handle the stuff. But if you have time, just let it dry overnight or for a couple days just to make sure it's fully cured. All right, we're about 2 coats now, and the first bottle is actually empty already. Look at that. So it went by pretty quick, that 11 ounces in each bottle, but I was able to give about 2 coats, 2 good coats on all surfaces. Right here, a little bit of warning, don't spray too wet. If you spray too wet, it ends up drying all spotchy looking right there. So once we go over it with another thin black, it should work on the next bottle. But yeah, you just gotta be careful. Some of these edges I hit too wet and it dried all spotchy looking, so it's not even coverage, or at least on there. Airbag cover looks good. That little piece I forgot earlier, but I found it halfway through and I just ended up coating that along with this when I was doing it. Over here, pretty good coverage. You should do this during the daylight because you can see the gray through the black where you don't get good coverage. So you just want to make sure you have pretty good coverage on all these pieces right there. Over here on the main dash, everything turned out good. I coated it pretty well. I don't see any grays or anything through here right now. There is a few spotchy parts where I went too wet. I'll go ahead and go over it with a dry spray on the next round. Over here, everything looked good. Some of those spotches where we got it a little blended in, I need to go ahead and just hit that a little bit wetter or get that to blend in a little bit better on some of those spots. But other than that, everything looks pretty good. I was able to get good coverage on the inside here on those first 1 or 2 coats. Make sure you get all the little grills up here. The texture part comes out pretty good. With that texture is the smooth parts that I need to worry about as far as getting very good coverage and even coverage so it dries. So I finished that second bottle and everything looks evenly coated now. All those little spotchy parts and those little imperfections or reactions I was able to fix. I think it was just the weather outside. It's so humid today out here in Florida that I had to bring it inside and spray those as a touch-up. Once I did it inside in the garage here, it was able to dry a little bit better without all that humidity and moisture in it, and everything looks a lot better now. Overall, earlier I was thinking about doing like a two-tone on that center with a little bit of glossy or shiny black, but I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it this way. I think I like it better like this. This is more of the 2002 to 2005 without the two-tone, with everything being a matte finish, but it looks all good now. Everything's evenly coated. 2 cans of that stuff should cover most of your stuff. You notice I didn't do that under panel right here because that under panel doesn't really suffer from any of the actual stickiness, and hopefully once you put it back on, this new matte should match that one perfectly, especially if you gloss it up with a little bit with some 303 protectant or just Meguiar's interior cleaner. If you guys are on the fence about whether you should paint the old panels that are already black, you could probably just leave it. This is the armrest right here. You can see that part where I actually painted right here, and this is just the stock black. Unless you need to fix any scuff or want everything perfect and clean, you could pretty much leave any existing black panels that are already black if there's no stickiness on them, and just paint what you need to paint.
Own domain, yeah, I got what it takes. Made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day. I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no, I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say, oh, la, 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 la.
Guys, thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video on refurbing that melting dash or that sticky dash for the IS300. As you can see, it's a pretty labor intensive process just getting all that old sticky crap off, all the nooks and crannies, and then just prepping everything. The key to it is just getting all that crap off, prepping everything, and then getting a good layer so you can actually paint that new vinyl paint back on there so you get it back to being that matte OEM stock finish. If you guys found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. If you guys haven't subscribed to my channel yet to stay on top of all my different projects, whether it's on the IS250, the IS300, the Sienna, or anything I'm doing around the garage or with cars, go ahead and subscribe to your channel. Turn on the bell notifications to get notified every time I upload a video. Remember guys, for all these different projects, if I can do it, you guys can do it. I want to thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.